Welcome to Chapter 2 in our Adobe Flash CS4 Professional Classroom in a Book. This is for Multimedia 255, Interaction Design. I'm Mark Resch. This lesson should take about 90 minutes. My speaking notes are shorter. The time that will take you to complete the project is primarily due to the number of manipulations you'll have to do in the sample project. We're going to use this project to introduce drawing tools and have you create simple graphics. This project is a banner ad. It's a glass of sparkling water over a wavy background and a text logo. As you create that banner, you'll learn how to use the various drawing, editing, and selection tools on the Tools panel. You'll be able to create basic shapes, import bitmap fills, make selections, group objects, make patterns and align objects, create gradients and transparencies, create curves, and manipulate objects with the free transform tool. You'll also learn about the different drawing modes in Flash, and I'd like to say a little bit about each of those. By default, Flash uses a strange drawing mode called the merge mode. So when you draw rectangles, ovals, or lines, you'll create those shapes on the stage. When shapes overlap, they'll merge to create a single element on the stage. When you select a shape, the selected area appears dotted. And though elements are merged together, you can still select each of them separately. Each of our rectangle sides is a separate element, for example. If you wanted to select a shape's fill and stroke, drag the selection tool around the entire shape, and you'll be able to fill or stroke a shape by clicking on it, or you can select the entire shape by double-clicking on it. In object drawing mode, it's active when the object drawing icon is selected in the options area of the tools panel once again. So if you select if you select the rectangle tool, for example, ovals, and then you click on the object drawing icon, your elements will remain discrete elements even when they overlap, even in the same layer. These discrete elements are called drawing objects. When you select a drawing object, both its fill and stroke are selected. So you're not dividing it into separate subcomponents. There's a third mode called primitive drawing mode. And primitive drawing mode is activated when you use the rectangle primitive or the oval primitive drawing tools. Those are hidden underneath the menu on the tools panel. They're underneath the rectangle or the oval panel. In this mode, elements are discrete objects, but you can modify corner angles or inner radiuses or have a little more control. Merge drawing gives you some advantages, and you can create unusual or complex shapes. Object drawing lets you move objects without worrying whether they're going to overlap or clip other objects. And primitive drawing makes it possible to draw more complex shapes without having to merge multiple shapes together. I'd invite you to draw and manipulate elements using each of the drawing modes so that you can become more familiar with the differences and can recognize them as you work with them. You can convert a shape to an object by selecting it and choosing Modify Combine Object. Union. You can convert an object to a shape by selecting it and choosing Modify Break Apart. So here's what happens in merge mode. I've created a square and an oval, and I put the square on top of the oval, and then I selected the square and moved it away. So on the right side, you can see what happens is it looks like a bite was taken out of the oval. That oval is still selectable, the outline and the stroke, but the piece that was covered up and is now gone. And so that oval will always have that piece missing now. In object mode, you can see that the options menu shows up down at the bottom of the screen here, and the second blue triangle is an object mode blue square. I'm sorry, not blue triangle. So you can shapes and groups are different things in Flash. You can put groups together, groups of shapes together, and you can align them if you want. For example, you can nest groups, and then you can have them all behave as if they're one single thing, even though they're made up of subcomponents. So you can have groups within groups. And this is a real advantage for manipulating and locking them together lets you not worry about having to move 6 or 10 things all at once. And then remember, you can always break them apart. You can break them into their component parts. You can ungroup them. Let's talk a little bit about color for a second and transparency, one of the aspects of it. Transparency or opacity is determined by the alpha value of the color. If you alpha is opacity, so if you decrease the alpha value, you'll make it more transparent. You make it less opaque. And alpha values range from 0, totally transparent, to 100, totally opaque. You can change the alpha value for a color from the color. You can pull that down from the menu or open it in the menu, or you can select the fill options, and there's an alpha available there as well. You'll be coming across this many, many times. And then finally in this chapter you're going to be creating and editing text. And creating text in Flash is, like creating text in InDesign or Photoshop or almost any other application. You select the text tool. It will give you an insertion point at your cursor. You can click on it and begin typing, or one of the interesting behaviors is you can drag and create a text box. Both of these methods actually technically create text boxes. And then you can also create static text. Static text is used for text that doesn't change and can't be controlled any other way. To format text, you can select it with the text tool and then select formatting options in the property inspector. You can manipulate the text object box as an object, and you can make changes in the property inspector or the transform panel. You can drag the text box handles when you select the text box to resize it. Resizing the text box doesn't change the size of the text inside the box, but it does reflow the text in the text box. So if you want to change the size of the text, you need to select the text inside the text box and then change its properties. You can make any part of any text a hyperlink, and you can apply filters to text. You can add drop shadows or glows. It's a quite useful tool. And that's the end of this chapter 2.